Hey, Laomi, how you doing? You good?
Man, I'm good, Oyemi. I'm good. Here we are again, another day. We thank God. What's going on with you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. How is everyone doing? The
Ah,
the global economy. What do you think
hey,
with over the last few weeks?
hey, hey.
Where do you want to start from? Is it pump
That's the
prices?
question.
Is it gas
Where do you start
prices? Is it
from?
food
Where do you
prices?
start
Is it
from?
energy prices?
Everything is just crazy.
Hmm,
Everything is crazy. Look,
hmm.
I'll start. Look, charity begins at home, right? So I'll start where I live. I live in Nigeria, and it's insane. Just when we thought that things were beginning to stabilize, everything is getting expensive again. Fuel prices are rising, transportation
How much is
costs are
pump price now?
climbing. Do you know? I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
because it's
Uh,
always spirals
It's
from.
always going. Food prices are creeping up. Uh, for the average person, it feels like we're right back where we started. And the question is simple: what changed? Because this didn't happen overnight, right? There's
No, it never
clearly a
does.
chain reaction behind this. What's going on? I mean, on one hand, you will say there's a global crisis, there's a global conflict. I mean, we woke up one day and Mr. Trump decided to bomb Iran
Yeah, in March.
in March. And here we are, what, 7 weeks later? I don't know how many weeks later, dealing with this crisis that no one could have predicted. No one
No.
could have seen. Well, I mean, look, it is what it is. And, you know, with Nigeria, when this government came in, they had to do certain things. They had to remove the fuel subsidies. You had to stop the bleeding effectively.
Mm.
And when you look at it, when you look at it objectively, you, I mean, the subsidies were an avenue for corruption,
They had to go.
and they had to
Excuse me.
go. You had to have a measure of sanity as much as possible. Transparency, and people had to pay the commercial price for things. The challenge is at that time we thought, okay, temporary pain. This thing will be a year or two, then there'll be some forced corrections and go. But I mean, it seemed for a while that things had stabilized, right?
Yeah.
And we were told that there are hard decisions, subsidy removal, currency adjustments, that these things were necessary. And that they will be paid, but it will be in the short term, that things will stabilize eventually. But here we are again, you know, we're almost 4 years into this administration. So this is almost 4 years after we pulled the plug on the old way of doing things.
Almost 4 years, 2026.
Yeah, we're 3 years in. May 29 is the third anniversary, right?
Yes.
Of this government coming in. So the question is, why are things getting expensive again? What's really driving this thing locally and globally?
Hmm.
Like, what exactly is going on? On one hand, here you will say, okay, look, it's easy to say, come on, it's obvious now. It's obvious, isn't it? It's very obvious. There's a war going on in Iran, and that gives you an obvious. I mean, oil prices are through the roof. The Straits of Hormuz is closed. There's so much going on, and that has a knock-on effect for us. Even though we're an oil-producing country,
Mm-hmm.
there's still that knock-on effect. Don't ask me why, really, because I looked at a survey the other day, and it showed countries in the world where oil prices had increased because of
Yeah.
the Iran conflict. And Nigeria was third on that list. Nigeria
I
was the
saw it.
only
I saw
oil
it.
producing country on that list,
That was disappointing to read actually.
which makes you wonder, okay, there's a problem, but how much of this problem is the global problem? How much of this is a localized thing? How much are your fellow oil producers seeing inflation in energy costs relative to us
Hmm.
and what's going on. And you'll hear all sorts of reasons. Oh, we pre-sold our crude oil production for that. General Buhari pre-sold crude oil production for the next couple of decades. He borrowed against it, and so you're not the one really getting the benefit of those the price inflation. All you're going to get is the pain from it. But you say, but we now refine our crude locally. So why are we still dealing with these issues if we're a local producer? I mean, is Mr. Dangote not producing enough petrol for us? Are we still importing petrol products? What's going on? And you have no clear answers. But remember that
Hmm.
transport is everything, energy is everything, right? Whether you're moving goods
Energy
from the
drives
ports,
everything else.
it's everything, drives everything else. The cost of transportation. I was talking to one of my colleagues in the office today, and he was talking about some changes that we made in the last couple of months. And he was saying, Oga, if we didn't make these changes, we will be crying right now.
Hmm.
But we are still crying. You speak to one of your suppliers and they tell you, oh, prices have changed. And you're asking, but when you get tells you prices have changed, you know why prices have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can complain, but if you're being fair to this man, you know why he's telling you that, oh, the price of this has gone up.
Hmm.
And you're asking yourself, should we be repricing our own goods as well? Shouldn't we be repricing? And that's where the problems lie. It's this chain reaction. Everything
It
sort of
just
feeds
it's a
into
chain
everything else.
reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a chain. It's a cycle. Everything feeds into everything else. And the cost of raw materials goes up. The cost of producing your own products goes up. The staff costs. I mean, everything just.
Everybody
I
just
don't know. Is
passing it
is
down, passing it down,
hard.
passing it down, passing
Is
it down, passing it
hard.
down.
I mean, is hard.
It is.
I don't know. People are going through so much. And if I remember having a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it, some foreign, and somebody was saying that naira is appreciating against the dollar, so you shouldn't be worried about foreign exchange risk in this transaction. And I was like, eh. So the dollar that is going down or naira that is going up now, I think it will stay that way. Saying now, no, it's really going down. It's lowest it's been in a couple of years. Say,
Hmm.
bros, literally a week after that meeting, just a week after that meeting, naira against dollar was back. It had gone
Yeah.
from a low of 1,300 something to
To
one
one
four
four
something.
something. Yeah.
Okay, in a matter of days. And so you're asking, can you really bank on this? You're asking so many questions that have absolutely no answers. But things
Hmm.
are going up. That salary and salaries are not going to keep up. They
No, they
can't.
can't. They never have been.
No.
So, so you know, the global. You mentioned Dangote earlier on, and everything else. Within the micro economic factors affecting Nigeria in terms of the energy prices. So even though Nigeria produces crude oil, the thing
Mm.
is that our petrol prices are still linked to international oil prices. We can't fix our oil prices domestically because it's always going to be linked to international oil prices. So if global oil prices rise because of a tension, which we already spoke about, with Israel, Iran, and the US, and we are having disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz currently, where 20% of global oil passes through, then the cost of refined fuel rises everywhere. So before
Mm-hmm.
the war, it was £1 29 pence per liter for unleaded petrol. As I speak to you today, is £1.57. So he's gone up by almost 30 pence. That's huge,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's gone up by almost 30 pence. So just to give you the UK context. Now you can argue that what about the fuel that they already had? Why can't they still sell it at £1.29 and wait till they go into reserves? But they reacted immediately. My friend who is in Australia, he said the same thing. I think the US is $4 to the gallon. So it's a global thing. That's the first thing I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that happening? Because crude oil becomes more expensive for refineries to buy. And if it's more expensive for them to buy, I think Dangote still buys his crude. There's something about I read about Dangote saying that he buys his crude from the US or from other places to be able to refine in Nigeria. So the cost of crude oil has gone up to over $100 a barrel, although it fluctuates. But before the war, it was $78, ranging around the $78 mark. So almost $20, maybe $30 more compared to before the war. So even a refinery in Nigeria like Dangote, they must pay market price for crude. So in a nutshell, when crude rises globally, our petrol prices are going to feel the punch. But then the question is, the Dangote refinery was supposed to solve part of Nigeria's fuel price problem. It's the largest refinery in Africa. It was designed to produce about, I think, it was 600,000 or 650,000 barrels per day. And there were big expectations. One of the expectations that we had was that Nigeria would stop importing petrol. And another assumption I think we had was that transport costs would fall and supply would increase. So in theory, this should reduce fuel prices, but in actual terms, even with Dangote refining fuel, several things still keep prices high. Number one, crude oil is priced in dollars. So Dangote still buys crude at international prices. So, like I said, if oil is $100 per barrel, the refinery cannot sell petrol cheaply without losing money. And Dangote is not in the business of losing money. So it's going to take
No.
a while for this thing to come to a point where Nigerians can really say, okay, the pump price has come to something very maybe you can argue that why isn't he getting crude directly from Nigeria? That's another conversation. Why does he have to import the crude? Would that help? Maybe. But then we also have our fuel production costs being affected by the exchange rate. So if the Nigerian naira, just like you said, you're giving the analogy of 1,300, 1,400, if it weakens against the US dollar, prices will rise. Even our locally refined fuel still depends on dollar linked costs. So hence the petrodollar. So whether you refine in Nigeria, you refine elsewhere, you are still caught up one way or the other with this petrol dollar thing. I mean, you've already talked about the market pricing after subsidy removal. So I won't go into that. But if I talk a little bit about UK,
So yeah, I mean, I'm going to push back on something for a second. Okay.
okay, go ahead.
Um, Crude oil pricing went up 25% because of
Yes,
the the shenanigans
instability.
in Iran, in the Middle East.
Hmm.
Your pricing in the UK went up 25-30% from a pound 20 to a pound 50.
50s, 60, yeah. Something like that.
25%.
Hmm.
Why are we looking at a 65% increase?
That's crazy.
And
That
that's
was
the point
from
I'm
about
making.
that was about
Yeah,
700 and
yeah,
something naira, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
From
it's true.
$800 to
800 bucks,
1,200.
yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
That's
That's a
50,
good point.
60%. Yeah, I mean, it's not. So, look, again, you raised a couple of questions, you said, why did prices go up immediately? I'm a businessman. You price in your replacement cost immediately. Okay, so I
Hmm.
understand that. As soon as there's a shock in the market, you don't
You
wait
have to
till you
react.
exhaust the stock that you have in hand. You react because you have to replace that stock in this thing. So you price accordingly. People always ask, how come when prices go up, people adjust their pricing immediately? But when it comes down, they don't adjust immediately because you have to cover the cost of acquisition and the cost of replacement. So if I bought something at 100 naira per liter and it's now 150 naira per liter to sell it, naturally I will increase prices of the stock in my tanks because I must
Yes.
cover my cost, right? My replacement cost. Now, perversely, if I buy it at $150 per liter, or I buy it at $100 per liter, I'm selling at $150 per liter, and it now falls to a price where I can sell for $80 a liter. Why don't I drop my costs immediately? It's very simple now. I bought this thing at $100 per liter. I priced it with my costs at $150 per liter. All right, 150 naira per liter. So even though the price has gone down to 80 naira per liter, what was the cost that I acquired that item, that commodity?
150.
And that's the cost I must still cover. So when I'm done with the stock in my tanks, then I'm talking about
then you now do a brand new acquisition.
Then you're acquiring, then you reprice for your new acquisition. Okay. But why are we seeing 50%, 60%?
It's too high. It's too high. It's too high. What's the justification for that? It's too high.
That's the point I'm making. Even though we're buying fuel on the open market, if the markup is 30%, why are we seeing a 60% markup in the finished product? Especially when countries like the UK, now in the UK, fuel pricing is primarily tax.
Yes.
Fuel is energy taxes.
Yes,
all right. Is something like 40 or 50% of it that's made up of tax. Okay. So here we are. We produce this commodity. All right. And there's a shock in the market. And countries that buy it see a 25-30% increase in cost. Why are we seeing 60%? The math is not mathing. But you were talking about the UK.
Yeah, no, so no, thanks for that insight. And you're right. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know it was almost 50-60% more. So it's not a like-for-like comparison at all. It's just too high. No wonder I've seen a lot of influencers coming out, and even people who didn't used to talk about the economy before were talking about now they're being squeezed because they can't power their factories, they can't power some of them can't power their homes the way they want to power their homes. These are people that are really comfortable, but they're being squeezed. They're being squeezed. So speaking of being squeezed, in the UK, what I just wanted to say is that we don't have the hyperinflation that is in Nigeria, but what we have is a slow squeeze on living standards, and that has been happening for some time. So what is actually going on is what you said, pay hasn't kept up with pricing. And this hasn't happened. This is not something that's happened over the last few years. Since the credit crunch, 2008 global financial crisis, whatever you want to call it, Wall Street, where bear stearns went down and all those other is the Emron and all those companies that went down. Wage growth, particularly in the UK, is quite weak, actually very weak compared to previous decades. So salaries are rising very slowly, if at all, and prices are not matching it. So people are technically earning more money, but poorer in real terms. I think somebody sent something to me that in the 80s, the average cost of a house was, I think the average wage was, I think, maybe 15,000 a year, and house prices were maybe 40 or 50,000 in the 80s. But then now in 2026, the average house price in London is about 500 and something thousand, and the average wage is about between 28 and 30. So if you look at the average house prices between 1980 and today, has done 10x. Just like what you said, the salaries are not going to do 10x. The salaries will only
Mm-hmm.
go by maybe 1.5 or 1.6. So it means there's a squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, then rents are going up, house prices remain very high, like I said, which impacts mortgage payments because of interest rates that need to rise. So it's, yeah. So that's on one side. Then, because of this thing that happened in Russia and Ukraine, I'm not even going to talk about the Iran war. Our energy costs here went up because of the disrupted gas supplies to Europe, because Europe was not allowed to buy Russian gas because of the
Mm-hmm.
sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's had a knock-on impact on us because we rely on natural gas for heating our homes and our electricity generation. So at one point, it more than doubled. So people were literally seeing their bills doubled. Previous and things have eased slightly, but they're still a lot higher than before 2021. And we actually don't know when that war is going to end, the Russia Ukraine war. Then apart from,
Mm.
we don't know. We have no idea. It's 4 years now.
None. None.
No idea when it's going to ease. And then if you look at, things like bread, milk, eggs, oil, they've, since the supply chain disruptions after COVID-19, that pushed global food shocks, up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then taxes continue to rise. And we have a Labour government right now. They are continuously, raising taxes. And even some people say even if your pay increases, you still pay more tax because of the way the tax brackets are being done. So it's everywhere, but it's in some places more than others. If you really look at it, some places
Mm.
more than others. So in the UK, you can still say the economy is still stable. I mean, we're not looking at things like currency collapse or a huge decline in our currency compared to other strong currencies. We don't have hyperinflation. We don't have fuel scarcity. But the problem is the slow erosion of living standards. And you've seen quite a lot of people emigrate out of the UK over the last 5, 10 years to places like Dubai, places like Malaysia, and other places, even
Mm.
emerging countries, so that they can get more for their money. So I don't
Especially with
know.
remote work.
With remote working, yeah, especially with
Makes
remote
it
work in
easier. Makes it
Thailand.
easier
Yeah,
to go and live in Thailand. Go and live in Kenya. Earn your
yeah, where
pounds
you,
and
I think
spend
somebody
it
was
in
saying
Kenya.
that
Yeah.
what you can get with $1,000. Some YouTuber did a video what it was paying for $1,000, and you see this house that this guy was living in. It's like can never get that in the US, and he's literally living like a king. Literally living like a king. It's like he's not going back. He just loves it. Some guy in tech.
Mm.
So it's my concern is when prices go up like this due to shocks in the system, they rarely go back down. So let's say the
It's like
war ended
age.
now,
It's like age. It goes up, doesn't come back down.
age doesn't come back down.
Not coming down. Are you getting any younger?
You're not getting younger. You can't get younger even if you wanted to.
Well, you can deceive yourself. You can get a facelift. You can dye your hair. You can
Yeah, my
get
friend was telling me that. Yeah, he said,
get transplants.
yeah, you're looking grey. I said, my own is grey. I mean, what's your own? You two are aging one part in your body. Where? He looked at me and was blinking. I was blinking. I said, you two are aging now, but you're not just aging the way I'm aging. We're aging differently, but you know where it is. He
Eh,
just started laughing.
I mean, you can
I'm
deceive
sure when you
yourself.
I said, I'm sure when you want to pee. I said, I'm sure when you want to pee, you hold the wall. I said, me, I don't hold the wall, but my own is green. He said, how do you know? Guys, two grown men. We
Wow.
we like to play. We're serious. That's what you get on this show. You never know what's gonna happen.
Get hair transplants. get a facelift, get a tummy tuck,
But do those
dye
things
your
work?
hair black. You're still old
Do they work?
inside. Of course not.
And
I
they're
heard you.
charging an
You
arm.
get you.
They're
Yeah.
charging an arm.
So you
They're
get your
charging an
hair
arm and a
transplant
leg.
done. Then you take your Viagra. Did I say that loud?
You thought it and then it just came.
It came out.
Just came out.
I don't know. My point is, you can fix a lot of these issues with medicine, right?
Mhm.
But what you're doing is
But,
fixing the symptoms of the problem.
but
You're
the root
getting
cause,
older. They're
the
getting
root
older.
cause
There's
is
nothing you
still
can do
is the
about it.
aging.
There's nothing you can do about it. They get older.
You know, I'd
They're
walk with my
getting old.
daughters. I walked with my daughters one day, several months ago, and I actually blurted out that you're walking too fast, and my daughter said, "Daddy, you're walking too slow," and it hits me. Ding, 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 ding.
You're
And I
getting
and I
older.
saw her friends or her colleagues were walking at the same pace. And I saw people that look like me also walking at the same pace. So she wasn't walking fast. She was walking how she's
At a
meant to
normal
walk
pace.
at her age. Don't get it twisted.
Sorry.
It
But
is what
look,
it is.
it is what it is.
We're going to do this ageism topic. We have to do a deep dive, and we need to bring somebody up on this stage and have it with them. Preferably two
Yeah,
people, two sets of people. Maybe somebody who is
maybe a guy and a
comfortable.
girl,
Yeah, and somebody else who's like, no, don't talk to me about aging. I'm not aging. I'm beautiful. And somebody else was like made peace with it. It'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll be a fun episode. So what can we do for those watching? What can people do to absorb the shocks so that we can take this more on the positive side?
If you have advice for me about it, I'm taking notes. So.
The only thing I can think of is cutting some luxuries. You decide which luxury can be cut off, which can't be. Maybe that's one way I can think of to absorb some of the shocks. What do you think? Because if things are going up and your income or your dividends or whatever is not meeting it at par, you would need to at some point be able to segment your needs and your wants. So if something is not a need, maybe you might need to either earn more money to continue it if you can. If not, just park it for now.
The thing is, I'm going to push back again. The thing is,
okay,
people have been living in austere times for a long time. Look, I've lived in Nigeria now for this spell of living in Nigeria. I've been here almost 20 years. And when I came back, dollar was like 140 to 1. Pound sterling was like
Jonathan times.
Dollar was like I came back during I think it was during OBJ's government. No, I came back at 08. So I think it was GJ that was it was Musa Yar'Adua was president. Yar'Adua was president when I came back. And very briefly before it was then I remember before it was then Jonathan. Look, people when I came back, pound sterling was 240 to 1. A dollar was 120 or something to 1. But
and then we complained.
Things have gotten,
complain then?
No, I didn't complain, to be honest.
Okay.
Because I didn't know any other way. I mean, so the first time I remember knowing about the exchange rate, it was one summer. I was traveling. And my dad was saying to me, this money I'm giving you, I changed it at 25 naira 60 kobo to a pound. So when you get to London,
25 naira or 125?
25 naira 60 kobo, 25.6.
Oh, that was
he sang it like a song. He was like, allow me, this money, tell your cousins they must be judicious with the money. When I came back,
25 naira.
And he was complaining. My dad was complaining at that time. He was complaining that I remember when it was 1-to-1, when he first started traveling, it was 1-to-1, it was 2-to-1, then it was 5-to-1. There is now 25 naira.
It's giving the chronology.
Yeah. when I moved back, it was 240 to 1. You know, you know what I would give to change one naira to 200, 240, 1 naira to 240 pounds. You know what I would give for that again? Or sorry, 1 pound to 240
To
naira.
240 naira. Yeah.
Do you know what I would give for that again? It's 2,000 naira or something there now. I mean, that shit is not funny. Forgive my French, but that shit is not funny. The things that I remember that I'm going to carbon date myself now, but like 500,000 naira would take you to London for a few days. Ticket was 150,000. Pound was 240 to 1 now. So you chill at 1.5. You know those public holiday weekends, those Friday and Monday weekends. Those,
You can just go.
you'll get up on Thursday. You guys just decide, let's go to London now. So on Monday, what are we doing this weekend now? I'm gonna go London. Okay, how much is tickets? Just check tickets. Everybody buy tickets. You know, shows what I'm saying. Look, it wasn't like it was cheap, but it was more affordable. In fairness, I did not have wife and children at that time. I did have dependents at that time.
So
it
it's
was
a
just
different
me.
time.
I was a selfish guy living my life. So it was easier, right? Today I have to think about my munchkins.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
What?
Now, guess what? That 500,000 now can barely take you to Abuja and back.
See,
as I
that's
hear.
Abuja. That's Abuja. That's minus ground transport. That 500K is your ticket, is your return ticket. No ground transport. You will land in Abuja and you take the next flight back because you probably can't afford to take a cab from the airport to town.
So it's 250K.
Return. 500,000 return.
What?
Depending on how soon you book and all that. My friend was complaining last week about the cost of petrol. Said he bought petrol in his car. That was a massive gas tank. So he said he paid like 150,000 naira or something to fill the tank of his car. And he was moaning about it with like this thing.
People are complaining. So they said that even people are even SUVs now. They say, please, you have something smaller. It's not cheap to run. Yeah. These guys are driving Land Cruisers. You know those big Land Cruisers?
It's not, look, my friends in the US are complaining as well. Everywhere. I mean, I have, since Mr. 47 came to power, at least everyone in the US knows someone that's lost their job. Is that bad? That in the
Everyone
US,
in the US,
all my friends know at least one person that's lost their job.
Wow.
That's wild.
It's never been this bad.
It probably was, but there was a full-on crisis, there was a full-on global meltdown, global recession, something.
Okay.
Here, we've managed to escape, even though I think we're getting there. With this talk of a blockade, with this talk
The Strait of Hormuz blockade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even understand what is going on, except for the fact that this guy is moving mad.
They've just created problems that were not there. You've put a blockade on something where there was no issue in the first place. Now there's a real issue.
And now the focus is on reopening what was not closed a while ago. You force them to close it. You know, this thing that's happening around the world is also, for want of a better word, demystifying the US and exposing a bunch of things.
Yes.
We grew up with Hollywood propaganda telling you this is the bad guy, we are the good guys.
Remember Rambo and remember Rocky?
Every comic book, every movie, every
Russia
TV
was the enemy.
series, every novel, Russia
James
was
Bond,
the
how
enemy.
those bad
Then
Russian guys.
Then China was the enemy. Then Iran was the enemy. Iraq was the enemy.
Even in Tintin comics, Even in Tintin
Yeah,
comics. Yeah.
yeah.
It's always the Arabian guys were never really the cool guys in Tintin. Yeah. So
But here
this
we are
imagery has
today.
been there. Yeah.
Yeah, brainwashed the entire world. I mean, when you think about the fact that most of the movies we watch and the TV shows we watch are Hollywood productions, right? So they control the narrative. Most of the
Hmm.
big studios, the biggest budgets in the world, are American
Productions.
American movie studios. Yeah, TV studios, movie studios, and co. They dictate what we watch. The news media, I
They
mean,
frame the narrative. They frame the
they
narrative.
frame the narrative. They are the narrative. And
Hmm.
here you are today. Then you start asking questions, and you start to hear uncomfortable answers. Which country has ever dropped a nuke? How many people have died due to US sanctions imposed on their countries? Over 35 million people
35 million.
over the last 50 years. These are
Wow.
from US sources,
So their own
not
sources.
their own sources. And well, to go back to our topic, the net effect of this, and you know what, you could have seen this coming. There's a reason why US presidents have not attacked Iran. There's a reason.
Going back to 40 years.
Because it
Yeah.
didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But here you are now, and something everybody could have seen this coming. You attack these people, and there'll be consequences. And you know, some countries have this natural protection. Geographically, they're safe because of their location in the world. Okay, America is safe. They're between
Because of their
two
location as
oceans.
well.
Location, no one's ever invaded them. Iran is very similar. Their geographical location makes it difficult for you to put boots on the ground.
It's perfect. As close to perfect as you see.
As you can imagine. And then you have someone trying to pry open this perfectly sealed container, this perfectly impregnable container. You now try to force it open. So when we call this the war of hubris, here we are. It's hubris.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
problem is the hubris is now affecting you and I.
That is why we're having this topic.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's affecting you and I.
and it's a trickle down effect where our kids are on holiday now. They're going back to school.
Mm.
You just pray that there's no school fees revision. But everything's gone up. Cooking gas has gone up.
Everything has gone up.
Petrol prices have
Everything has
gone
gone up.
up.
There are just so many things happening at the same time. So
You know
many
that
things.
ancient Chinese curse,
Which is
may you live in interesting times. This timeline that we're in, this
is an
timeline
interesting time.
is not real.
But it seems as if we've been in a movie for the last 4 or 5 years because COVID happened. And I'm telling you, we haven't fully recovered from COVID. I know we're still flying, there's no mask anymore, but I think the after effects of a true pandemic can possibly be 10 years. If you look at the macroeconomic effects of some businesses are no more, the supply chain is not what it used to be. And once supply chain squeezes, prices go up. Because if you have an oversupply, then demand kind of like if you have an oversupply, you can't charge huge prices when it's oversupply. But if some were forced to go out of business as a result of something as abnormal as a pandemic, then it can affect prices as a result of now fewer suppliers. The demand still stays the same.
Hmm.
So
I do know
very,
what
very
you're going
interesting
to do.
times. Yeah.
Very interesting times. I do know what we're going to do. I don't. I worry,
Mm.
that as more people get desperate, more people fall below the level where they can sustain themselves. Forget luxuries, just the basics.
Crime.
Ah,
Yeah. That's why I
ay,
said
ay, ay,
crime.
ay, 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 ay. That's the most obvious. That's the most obvious.
Hmm. Yeah,
Crime.
people get desperate. Yeah.
Uh, I worry. We're already dealing with this, and then there's insecurity, which is also on the rise.
Yeah, I've been following up on stuff that, stuff happening in northern Nigeria. We had the stuff with some parts where there's been insurgents running
Mhm.
amok.
Yeah, the U.S. government is now um, pulling its non-essential staff out of Abuja, citing
I read that.
insecurity. Even
Embassies,
though,
yeah.
look, there's a part of me that says,
Are they serious?
not are they
Hmm.
serious? What's your game plan?
Yeah.
I now am very look
Skeptical.
with this particular president. I'm very skeptical
Mm.
of the agenda behind anything they do.
Mhm.
With a look with the previous president, with a Joe Biden or Barack Obama, I didn't feel this, and they probably had the games they were playing. They had their intrigues and politics they played. But this time, this under this dispensation, this administration, and unfortunately enough, the things that go on in the US affect the rest of the world. They affect all of us.
They do. They do. They do. We can't even play with that. They do.
And that's what gives me concern.
Mm.
That's what worries me.
Mm.
When they say, oh, there is now terrorism in Abuja, you are the one funding the terrorism.
Yep.
You are the one
Wasn't that
destabilizing
this?
Nigeria.
Was there not this list that was released a couple of days ago? Yeah, I
Of
think it was a list of terrorist financiers. I think I saw it somewhere on my timeline. I probably need to double check.
Oh, I
Mm.
didn't see that one. I don't follow Nigerian news for the most part. I try to avoid. I try to avoid it.
Mm.
It because you're dealing with a lot of things that make no sense. This is the land of grave injustice.
Yeah.
This is the land where logic fails. You with all the games that the US plays, especially under this president, I'm worried when you say that they think that Nigeria is not safe. There's a travel advisory. I'm not saying things are safe, but I don't put it
But
past these
what's
people.
what's the game plan?
And that's what I
Yeah.
don't to destabilize us. I always
Yeah.
thought that the consequences of destabilizing Nigeria would be terrible.
Because they don't
But
want
now I
a
wonder,
refugee crisis. Yeah.
does this president care? If he can find an angle to enrich himself, he'll probably just do
And they have made a lot of money. Millions.
it. Ay, ay, ay.
Millions and millions and everybody, father-in-law, son, daughter,
Uh, see, is a free for
everyone,
all.
friends. Yeah, yeah. They've all made money.
What's your take? What do you think can be done? What do you think in the UK will happen? Is Kemi going to be prime minister?
The UK is a mess. For the first time, the three parties, I have no confidence in whether it's Labour, Conservative, or Reform, which is Farage's party.
Absolutely not reform.
Yeah, so all three of them. The Conservatives made a big mess of it for 14 years. Labour
Mm.
came in and said they're going to change things. They don't have a clue. Conservatives are trying to get back in with Kemi. Reform, this is the same guy who supported Brexit. Brexit was a horror show. So why are you now coming back to the PM? Or based on what? What are you coming back to do?
If
So
there's one thing,
the thing is, there are people who said if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. I heard that in so many rap songs in the 90s. Brexit was a problem that they created. There was
yep,
nothing wrong with the system. Hubris, like you said. We're 28. We want to be on our own. They gave you everything you wanted when you joined the European Union in 1973. You are the only country that they allowed you to keep their currency. Every other
yep,
current country, France, Germany, Netherlands, etc., they accepted the euro. They left UK there with their British pound because of the strength of their economy. So, but then you now think that you are better than the other 27. And they said, okay, no problem. You can go.
Bye.
Now we have gone, and the impacts are still being felt.
He said, máa gbé kẹ̀kẹ́ ẹ lọ, a ò bá ẹ ṣeré mọ́. Máa gbé kẹ̀kẹ́ ẹ lọ, a ò bá ẹ ṣeré mọ́.
So, yeah, the impacts are still being felt.
And it was an own goal and a half.
Yeah. So we're battling a few things. We're battling more than a few things. The economy, Brexit, COVID, this Russia war, and God knows what else. Because effectively, why service economy, financial services, the city, that's what holds this country. In terms of insurance, mortgages, loans, credit cards. And because of the geographical location of London being at the epicenter of the financial world, a lot of people keep their money in London. You know, GMT and all of that, and a very robust banking system. But UK is not producing like we used to, probably for a very long time. And now China, now even if UK wanted to produce, they can't compete with China. The prices, it's not just sustainable. So it's cheaper for you as a businessman to send things to China to be manufactured, shipped, sent back to the UK and the rest of the world. You still make more money than making it in the UK yourself. Remember, you're not going to have to factor in some certain costs like pensions for staff and all those kind of things. So yeah. Yeah. The only thing one can probably do here, if you can, is earn more money. Because
even they're earning more money. Look here, for example.
But the prices still continue to rear.
Yeah, taxes are going up here. All right.
Yeah.
Taxes are going up. So even your money, I mean, how much of it are you keeping? You have so many factors that just seem to work against you.
So, Lami, final thoughts on this topic.
God help us.
I co-sign that. I co-sign that. Guys, if you're joining us for the first time,
Lord have mercy upon us.
You are a returning customer. I see some of you, you're returning customers. You send me messages, but you're not subscribed. Why? Are we
Why now?
Why?
Even if we're owing you money, subscribe so we can have money to pay your money back.
Exactly. It's free.
Support us. It's free.
Just click on the subscribe button, click on the bell, and click all notifications. When you do that, then when our shorts or our videos are released, it goes straight to your chosen device, whether it's your most of you are probably going to be using a mobile phone. But if you're watching from your TV, when you go into your YouTube, you'll see our video pop up on the side. You see new, which indicates that it's a new video. So please support us. Share it to all your social media platforms. And if you like this video, give us a like. And if you feel compelled, why don't you put a comment? How is the global rising
economy
costs
affecting you?
Economy, how is it affecting you? Where are you? Would like to know where you are. Are you in Australia? Are you in Nigeria? Are you in Japan? Are you in the UAE? Wherever you're calling from, wherever you're watching this from, let us know so we can appreciate you as well. Lami,
before you go, I have one question for you, Yemi.
Go ahead.
How do you think the Iran war ends? Topic for another day. But how do you think it ends?
Topic for another day. Let me hold our thoughts. I think we are seeing a new we're going to be seeing new strategic alliances and a new world order. I know a new world order is something a lot of people have been saying as a catchphrase, but I sincerely believe it's time. But let's keep that for another episode, like you said.
Yep.
Guys,
yep.
See you in the next one.
Thank you very much for watching us. Have a good night.
Cheers.